And welcome to another episode. First off, before I get into the interview that was recorded back at the end of last year, I want to apologize to Dave Baker for taking such a long time to get this up. I also want to say congratulations for being nominated for the Eisner for Everyone is Tulip. It is a well deserved, and I hope you do. Hope you win at the awards this weekend. All right. Well, thank you very much. Definitely enjoy the interview and check out the book. All right, welcome back. Today we are going to be talking to Dave Baker, the writer for Everyone is Tulip for Dark Horse. Dave contacted me after he saw the Jim Zub interview and sent me the book, and I read it, and I really enjoyed it. And we finally were able to make our schedules meet so we could get on and chat about it. So without further ado, let me bring him in and let's find out about him in the book. Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. I'm excited to talk with you, Chad. You know, we're gonna talk about some funny papers.
That's right. So before we do that, do you remember maybe the first comic book you read, or maybe the one that kind of caught your interest?
I was really into like boy adventure, girl adventurer, detective-y novels as a kid. Like I like when I was really little, I was obsessed with both Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys. And because of that, when we were at the library, when I was probably about 4 or so, they had a big collection of Tintin collections, and my mom was like, "Oh, you like Hardy Boys or whatever? What about this little guy with a weird hairdo? What do you think about him? He's got a talking dog. Do you like that?" And I was like, "Oh, what? A talking dog detective guy? Yes." Yeah, like I can remember one of my earliest memories with. I mean, I remember us like I don't remember that incident, but my earliest memory with comics that I think is like my own memory, not something somebody told me, is that when my sister was in the hospital, my aunt was at the house watching me, and she was reading Tintin to me. I don't know which Tintin it was, but she was reading Tintin to me, and she was doing all the voices, and I can remember her doing Captain Haddock, and she always did him like this, and like her voice kind of gave out because she was doing it. And then she got the call that my sister was born. I can remember that happening. I can remember where we were in the house.
Yeah.
But that's kind of Tintin really was my gateway drug. It was the thing. Like as a little kid, I didn't really understand the difference that like books with pictures were a different genre than books without pictures, because to me they both kind of were like just in my head making a narrative, and like, oh, one of them is like my babysitter reading to me, and the other one is my babysitter reading to me, and I just get to look at some pictures too. But yeah, I was probably about 3.5, maybe 3, 4, somewhere in there when my sister was born, and I think that it was Blue Lotus, maybe. I think I'm not sure. Yeah, Tintin.
And when did you decide? When did you?
Oh, almost immediately. Almost immediately. I was so just like, oh, this is the word of God. Oh yes, this is it. This is the thing. This is what I will do. And I didn't really I had no conception of how hard that would be, or that there's no money in comics at all, obviously. But I just knew the feeling of, and it was also like, it was simultaneously very achievable to me and unachievable, where I could like look at drawings and I could know that somebody did it with their hand and be like, oh, it wasn't like a movie or a TV show or something where it's this big extreme thing. It was more just, you know, oh, it's a person and they are doing it by themselves ostensibly. And that was very communicable to me.
Nice. So let's talk about Everyone is Tulip. How about we start with like kind of a brief, you know, overview of the book and, you know, the main characters and.
Yeah, so Everyone is Tulip is a coming-of-age story about a young woman from Arizona who moves to Los Angeles in order to kind of pursue a career as an actor. And once getting there, she gets kind of sucked up into the high-stakes world of YouTube performance art. And she kind of becomes this overnight viral sensation, and it causes her to kind of like question her life and what she wants, and it pushes her to kind of evaluate like, how far are you willing to go to get what you want? And it's kind of a one part coming of age, figuring out who you are, one part kind of psychological drama about what it takes to live in LA and be involved in a creative industry, and what it takes to be an artist, and the kind of sacrifices that you are going to eventually have to make, even though you're not really thinking about that when you first go in. You're the kind of like crossroads that you're going to be forced to evaluate.
Now, is any of this like based on, you know, your experience?
Was I a viral sensation, performance artist?
Not really. Were you a viral sensation, but you know, did you just kind of use that as the vehicle to maybe tell, you know, something that, you know, you've experienced? I think
it absolutely is. No, yeah, I think, you know, it's the artist on this project and the co-creator, NICOLE GOUX, and I have collaborated on a few books, and you know, we have this little mantra saying of like, there's no clean win in comics. You know, you're always being forced to make some decision where it's a compromise, or there's some sort of you know, gray area where you're like, well, that part of the contract isn't so great, or whatever. You know, there's always some aspect of things that are mushy or cause you to think for a second of like, well, if these certain tumblers line up, I'm gonna have to really, you know, be at peace with this if this happens this way. And so that kind of those experiences and honestly turning down some opportunities because the compromises were too extreme, kind of caused us to start thinking about this. And also, I work in a media company here in LA. You know, I've got a movie on Netflix. Like I've been in this world for better or for worse for a little while, and so you're constantly trying to navigate these things. It's not autobiographical. Like I'm not a 19-year-old petite blonde, but you know, I'm working on it. You know, I'm trying to be my best self in the same way that BECCA'S trying to be her best self, and we're trying to you know, it's similar. You know, it's very similar. Sort of. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I know. And again, I don't know if the question was phrased that great, but
no, totally.
So I really like the use of color. Can you kind of, you know, who's the colorist on this, and how did, you know, have you worked with them before?
Yeah. So the colorist on this was ELLIE Hall. We met ELLIE when she was in art school. We did a Nicole and I did a joint talk where we went to the Art Institute in Pasadena. I think we've done a couple, so I kind of don't remember which one it was, but I'm pretty sure it was the Art Institute in Pasadena. And we did kind of like it was a comics class, and we were like, this is who we are, this is what we make, this is an example of a thing we've done. Got any questions? Cool. All right, bye. That kind of deal, you know. It wasn't reinventing the wheel or anything, just kind of hanging out, answering questions about what it takes to be a working cartoonist, and self-publishing and dealing with larger publishers. Because I think around that time, Nicole was working on Shadow of the Batgirl for DC. So there was a lot of kind of questions of like, how do you break into that system? How do you, you know, all that kind of stuff. And one of the people who was very engaged was BECCA. Or oh my God, BECCA. Was, you know, and so you know, they came up to us afterwards and talked to us about it, and we kind of just hit it off, and we're like, oh, I feel like you could probably. She showed us her portfolio, and we were kind of like, oh yeah, let's do this, and we worked on the project together, and now she's gone on to work in animation. She's a background painter on a bunch of shows. She did a Starburns show. She worked on a Cartoon Network show. The Furry Freak Brothers. She was a background painter on Furry Freak Brothers. Yeah, very, very successful, and it's cool to see her spreading her wings. And yeah.
Now, is this also part of the Dark Horse Comixology?
No, it's not. This is just we sold them the book. I think we had like 3 issues done, and we hadn't decided if we were going to self-publish it or put it out or whatever. And Connor Knudsen, the editor on the project, found us at a convention and was like, "Hey, I really liked your previous book, Fuck Off Squad. Do you guys have any interest in working for Dark Horse?" And we were like, "Yeah."
Let me think about this. Yes.
Yeah, let me just hold on. Let me consult. That's gonna be a yes.
So, do you have a favorite character, or a favorite character that you for the
book?
Yeah.
I mean, so the book is like it's kind of, it is a, Becca is the main character, right. Becca Harper, but there's a small little nucleus of characters that are kind of revolving around her, and one of them, they kind of reflect different versions of the experience of being in the Hollywood system and trying to do things and struggling and failing, or struggling and succeeding. And one of those characters, Chloe, who's the like costume designer in all these viral videos, her son, Petey, I love that kid. I just want to write him. He's just like a 7-year-old who's just obsessed with this shitty fast food chain called Shiver Me Burgers. And I just I think that's so funny that someone would be. I mean, I don't know if I was obsessed with, anything to that degree at that age, but I definitely loved shitty food. So like, there's parallels there,
No, yeah, I've kind of found that part, when the guy goes back to the restaurant and he's, saying, I went here as a kid. I've probably caught myself, doing that a couple times when, with my wife, when I'd take her, because I'm originally from West Virginia. So it's like, hey, it's, really not that great, but, for that person, it is, something.
Oh, man, there's 100. Yeah. So the Shiver Me Burgers little like DNA thread in the book is based off of, there's a really, look, I think it's great. I think it's really good because I went there as a kid, and it's the only thing I miss, because I'm originally from Arizona, and like that's the thing that I like is there's this place called EG's, and it's like a sandwichy, a slushy French fry place. It's like, I know it's not the best thing that's ever been made, but every time I go back home, I'm like, we gotta go get EG's, and like same thing, whoever I'm there with is just like, this really isn't that good, and I'm like, it's great.
Yeah. To that same effect, where I'm from, where I went to school, there was this. It's kind of like it's called Eaton Park, and it's kind of like a Shoney's type, Denny's type place.
Mm-hmm.
And the food's not that great, but it's just like the atmosphere, and they have smiley face cookies. And me and my wife went to my friend's wedding and had breakfast there. And was like, this is the great place, and she's like, it's just a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, it's not just a restaurant. It's, but I digress.
It's the emotional connection to it, It's, yeah. I mean, EG's isn't that great. I know it's not that great, but to me, it's great. I love it, and it's the only thing. Like I literally, I think I ate it like 6 times the last time I was in Arizona. Like, it's not. I know that's not a reasonable thing. I know that that's not a reasonable thing, but it's also just the fact that I can't have it now because I live out here, which is that weird. Like, when I was there, I didn't even eat it that much, but
right.
you know, you're like, oh, but it would be so good right now.
Well, again, not to get off on a tangent, but there is a one restaurant. It's like a local. It's called Tudor's Biscuit World, and first off, it's West Virginia. It's part south, so everything is like butter. You know, the biscuits are huge, stacked with
Yep.
whatever meat you want on it, and it's like
Completely.
you have a heart attack as soon as you bite into it. But that's one place we definitely have to go whenever we're down there. But back to the comic.
We don't want to just talk about weird food chains that we like. I mean, I'm game. I don't care.
So, other than everyone is Tulip, you've kind of mentioned your other stuff. What else have you done? And
Yeah, sure.
did you learn, or did you take learn anything doing those that kind of helped you make Everyone is Tulip?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, so I've published probably about like 12 graphic novels or so. The most recent ones have been Fuck Off Squad, published by Silver Sprocket, which is a coming of age romance comic about skater kids in LA. Also with Nicole, GOUX. Night Hunters, published by Floating World, with Alexis Zirit from Space Riders and Tarantula. And that book is kind of about, it's like a cyberpunk dystopian future, Venezuela, where there's been a law that's been passed where if you want to have a baby in a hospital, run for public office, or own property, you have to have been or currently be a police officer. And so society kind of like just stratifies. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It like stratifies. So you basically have like the have-nots and cops, and there's no in between. And that's a 4-issue miniseries that we did. That's coming out in trade November 6th, I think.
Okay.
Oh, and I wrote the most recent Star Trek Voyager miniseries for IDW. Star Trek Voyager 7's Reckoning with
nice.
Angel Hernandez. Yeah. So yeah, I've done some stuff, been around, and I think each book gives you a new lesson. Each book gives you something that you weren't thinking about. You're just kind of like trying to problem solve, and you stumble onto a new way of doing things, or you set out to try and prove that you can do something in comics form, and at the end you're like, oh, that didn't work the way I wanted it to, or whatever, Yeah, but I think the real kind of what you're asking about is like, is there a lesson that kind of for Tulip? Yeah, I think the lesson is like that. The lesson for me kind of came just before we got Fuck Off Squad published, because I had put out 3 250-page graphic novels in this series that I have had called Action Hospital, where I co-draw it with people. I write the whole book, and then every character in the book is paired with a specific character. So sometimes there's like 6 cartoonists all working on one page. And that was a big learning experience to me of like, only rely on the people who want to be there, don't try and like pull people in just because they're super talented. It's really, comics is a game that, for better or for worse, you have to, it has to be in your blood. And when I started collaborating with Nicole, I was just like, oh, she gets it. She's in it to win it. And we've made all of these books since, and literally traveled the world going to conventions. We went to a convention in England and Canada, and
what are conventions again? Because
right, exactly. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah,
people
I know.
Who watch this probably go, he's making that again.
Yeah, exactly. That joke again. That eventually someday we'll be able to go to conventions. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. But I think that's the lesson, though, is kind of like being able to recognize the people that want to be there, and then nurturing those relationships and really trying to build something with somebody. Because nobody's getting fucking paid in this game. Like it's all smoke and mirrors. Like it's just people in it for the passion. And that's kind of how I think about it too, is like comics is the closest thing I have to a religion. It's a warrior monk lifestyle. And if you're not really prepared to make those sacrifices, then that's okay. You don't have to.
Oh, that's yeah. So I really, do you have any, characters from say maybe, DC, Marvel, Image that you would love to kind of, tackle or, have a no, you don't have to give specifics, but you have, characters in mind that you would love to work on?
Well, I think the first answer to that is my favorite Star Trek character is Tuvok, and I shoehorned him into that miniseries. I was like, there's gonna be some juicy Tuvok scenes in this book that has nothing to do with Tuvok because I said so. And CBS was fine with it, so thankfully that worked. But a couple years ago I pitched a Jimmy Olsen original graphic novel to the Ink and Zoom line. Didn't go anywhere, but it was fun to even just be typing the words Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen. I'm a big Superman guy. I'm a big X-Men person. I love the Phantom. Huge Phantom person. I was in talks with King Features for a hot minute about potentially getting the rights to do the Phantom stuff at Floating World. I was trying to license the Phantom and not Doc Savage, Flash Gordon. And ultimately, like everything, things peter out, didn't work out, different worldviews, whatever. But it was a lot of fun to write that pitch document of like, this is what I would do with the Phantom.
No, that's cool. I don't really read the Star Trek comics, but I know that did J.K. Woodward do some of those?
Yeah,
I know J.K. So
yeah, he did some of the like mirror universe stuff fairly recently. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's cool. So maybe is there anything else you wanted to maybe mention about Everyone is Tulip that maybe we didn't cover that you wanted to?
That it's really good and everyone should go to your local bookstore and be like, excuse me, I heard this man on the internet and he was talking about this really sad comic about a girl on the internet and it sounded great. So can I pre-order that or order it? It's not even pre-ordered now. It's out. I think that's the thing that's so trippy is that since we haven't been to those, convention things, it doesn't feel like the book is out. Like it came out probably a month ago or so, but there's no feedback loop. Like I just am intellectually aware that like you can go to a Barnes and Noble and buy our book, which is a cool thing, but it's not the same as like knowing it in here and like seeing people at conventions or even just seeing it in comic book stores, just because I've scaled back on going to comic book stores a lot. But yeah, the book's called Everyone is Tulip. If you like comics like Snot Girl or Scott Pilgrim or Wet Moon or This One Summer, I feel like you'll probably be into our book. It's about being sad and being on the internet. You're on the internet right now. You're watching this.
Well, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it because I definitely got the Scott Pilgrim / Snot Girl, vibe from the book. So that's a great comparison.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's the goal that we're shooting for. Whether we achieve those heights or not, that's, who knows?
Oh, no, definitely. So where can people find you on, social media? Check out your work.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. The plugs segment. Yeah. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at xdavebakerx. I also host a podcast that I co-write and produce. It's a deep dive explainer podcast called Deep Cuts. You can find it wherever you get podcasts. We did an episode that was a 2-hour musical with 11 original songs about the history of Napster. We did an episode about Buckaroo Banzai, and we got some of the original actors from Buckaroo Banzai to come be in a narrative segment that was written and produced by the original screenwriter, Earl Mac Rausch, and the director W.D. Richter. And so we've done a bunch of weird high concept stuff, and if you're like weird deep dive explainers on obscure topics, feel like that might be something that would interest you.
And do you have any plans to make convention appearances? Or are you still kind of taking a
I
wait
don't
and
know,
a wait
man.
and see approach.
I don't know. I don't know. I think the next big ones are New York, Emerald City, C2E2 at the end of the year, and I just feel like that's too soon. I just feel like
Yeah.
it just seems like a real. I don't know, man.
No,
I mean,
I totally agree with you because even though I love doing press at the New York Comic Con and talking to everybody. It's just a little too soon for me. Plus, my son is just hopefully will be qualifying for his round of the vaccine soon. Where that's right. Until then, we're still playing the bubble game.
yep.
Best we can.
Yeah. I mean, it just feels like until either they've figured out how to persuade the ignoramuses amongst us to get something that is only good for them and good for everyone else to get the vaccine. It just feels like my faith in my fellow man has been very, very, very substantially questioned these last few years.
Oh, I'm right there with you, so I completely understand.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to let you know that whenever we'd love to have you back.
Thanks, man.
Whenever you have anything you knew that you'd love to talk, want to talk about or promote, then you're more than welcome to come back. I hope you enjoyed yourself. And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this
stay
is a lot of
safe,
fun.
stay healthy, and we'll be in touch. And maybe it won't take a couple months before we schedule our next
yeah,
chat.
right. Yeah.
And I'll definitely include links to all your stuff in the show notes, and I'll let you know when the show goes up.
Thank you very much, man. It was great to talk to you, Chad.
All right. Well, again, stay safe, stay healthy, and keep doing what you're doing because you're making some great stuff, and I really enjoyed it. So, and everybody else should check it out. So,
thank you very much.
All right. Well, you have a good day.